1 on TNT 4. En Sang versus de Ridder 2, the rematch. Very exciting fights throughout this card. It's a stacked card. There's 6 fights on the entire fight card. You have then the main card with some notable names. Epic main event. Very excited to talk about this card. Make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on those post notifications too if you don't want to miss a prediction video. Let's start it off with the first fight of the night. Familiar last name there. Colbey Northcutt takes on Courtney Martin. This is the sister of Sage Northcutt. Also, Raymond Daniels' wife. Very exciting to see her get her second fight in one championship. Granted, they're keeping the competition level as they should. Not a girl with tons of pro experience, but a girl that does have some amateur fights. And Courtney Martin will quickly pull up her amateur record. I believe she only lost once as an amateur. There it is right there. So one loss was in 2019. She's 8-1 amateur record. That's a lot of amateur competition. Taking on Colbey Northcutt, who's a karate world champion, has very good striking skills. And I mean, she looked pretty decent inside of her debut in one championship. It's a serious fight for her, even though it's not at the highest level, because it's a girl that does have that amateur experience, and that could be a factor in this fight. It could be competitive. From what I've seen of Martin, she's an aggressive striker, definitely a bit amateuristic with the hands, but does have an aggressive boxing heavy attack with a lot of volume. From what I've seen, she is a bit susceptible to takedowns in the clinch. Whereas Colbey Northcutt, I mean, she's a karate world champion, very skilled striker. She's training alongside Raymond Daniels, her brother Sage. She has good straight punches as well, and does have some pretty decent jiu-jitsu off the back. I feel like in this fight, this should be Colbey Northcutt's fight. I mean, she should definitely be able to win this bout. I think it's set up for her to be victorious, but I don't think Courtney Martin by any means goes down easy. I'm picking Colbey Northcutt by a unanimous decision here over Courtney Martin, and I do think she gets it done. No betting odds released yet. I will definitely put them in the comments once they are dropped. But this fight here, Colbey Northcutt, she gets it done by a decision in her second fight in one championship. Now, the next fight, this is Thai boxing. It's the Muay Thai with the MMA gloves. If you haven't seen it yet, you definitely should tune in. It's really fun to watch. Last week, John Wayne Parr and Nikki Holtzkin had an excellent fight. The week before, Jeanette Todd had a great knockout. And now, you have Jackie Buntan versus Ekaterina Vendereva. I like this matchup here. You have the 5'7", 30-year-old, the 5'4", 23-year-old. Definitely the youth on the side of Jackie, and she is a pretty exciting prospect. And I feel like it's going to be entertaining. I'll guarantee this is a good fight. I feel like Buntan brings more of a free-flowing Thai style, I would call it. Does have some pretty good hands and will throw some fast hook combinations and does have enough power to drop her opponents. It's a pretty nice left hook. You look at her opponent in Ekaterina, it's more of a square, traditionalist Thai stance. She does have pretty quick hands herself. Doesn't have as much power behind the strikes. Mixes up spinning attacks as well. And right now, she's ranked number 5 in the women's Thai strawweight division. Ignore Tapology there because their weight classes are slightly off for one championship since the weights are different for their divisions. In this fight here, I'll be honest, I like Bunsen, and I do think she could potentially get the TKO with the hands here against Ekaterina. I'm picking her to win at 23. She's a hot prospect, and I am very excited for this fight. I'll guarantee one thing, it's fireworks. And if Buntan can get inside that reach, I guarantee you she can land some ferocious strikes and put down Ekaterina in this fight. It's a good Thai fight and a very good second fight of the night. And now, the main fight on the lead card, which is really just the prelims in one championship. Shinya Aoki, former champion, two-time champion in one championship, long-time MMA veteran, has fought a who's who. Eduard Folayang, his opponent. This is the trilogy fight between them both. Last fight, Aoki was able to get the arm triangle early in the first round. Prior to that, Folayang was actually able to beat Shinya Aoki. Aoki, though, has turned up since then. He's also on a 3-fight winning streak right now. The last fight, a win over James Nakashima. Prior to that, Kimihiro Ito. And before that, it was Hanirio Banirio. And I mean, he does have that loss to Christian Lee, and he did lose the title to Christian Lee, and Lee now is looking like a dominant champion. But definitely, if Aoki is victorious, he could potentially work towards a rematch with Lee. Eduard Folayang, I don't think he's in that same position. Even though he's the younger man, he seems more towards the back end of his career. Tony Caruso, he lost a decision to, and Pieter Burst before that. And he does have a win in between against a guy whose name is Tisuguku Emarsara, who has just 5-1 record. Folayang hasn't looked great. I believe he is on the downslide a bit at this point, even though he's the younger man. He probably has taken a bit more damage than Aoki has. And I guess Aoki is just resilient. I mean, over 50 pro fights. A southpaw with decent striking, but we know what we get from Shinya Aoki. It's amazing grappling. I mean, he's Toboken Judan. I believe that means the master of flying submissions, and he's known for some crazy stuff. There have been crazy moments in Aoki's career. If you follow Japanese MMA, he's a very high-level fighter on the ground. He's decent with the striking, but on the ground, he's dangerous. And you don't want to be on the ground with him because he has 30 wins by submission out of those 46 wins. He's a finisher, and he's ferocious. I will say, on the feet, his chin can be a little high, and he can get caught with overhands and looping shots. You look at Eduard Folayang, he's a pretty good striker who does bring power in his punches. He likes that overhand. Could land. Definitely could land. The likelihood of Eduard Folayang knocking out Shinya Aoki here, I think, is just very low. I'm thinking Aoki by submission. I could see it again in the first round. I think he beats Eduard Folayang here in their third fight, and he wins the trilogy, and I think Aoki moves one step closer to potentially earning himself either a rematch with Lee, maybe another fight against Eddie Alvarez. I know they fought a long time ago. There's a lot of options for Aoki if he's victorious, and I really do think highly likely that he will be victorious here. Still, unfortunately, no odds for this fight either. Again, I'll let you know in the comments when they do drop. It's unfortunate they take this long to drop, and normally they're only for the main card. Really wish we could get odds for all of one championship. So if any betting site bookies are watching this, let's get one championship some betting odds, because people want to put some money down on it, and there's a lot of exciting matchups. Oumar Kane, aka Rugrubh, takes on Kirill Grishenko. This is actually a really interesting matchup. Both have good wrestling backgrounds. For Oumar Kane, it's a Senegalese wrestling background, and he's a very aggressive striker, but a bit chaotic and amateuristic. He'll unload the combos, and I mean, he's 6'4", 265. He's a tank of a man, and you can see how his punches will do damage. When he gets on top, he's ferocious. I don't think he's top level just yet. He's developing, but on the ground does have very strong control from that top position and solid ground and pound. Kirill Grishenko is a decent striker, but definitely is going to look for takedowns. He is a Greco-Roman wrestler. I'll be honest, he unloads ground and pound on top. Similar styles for both these men. I'll be honest, I don't think this is an easy fight necessarily for Oumar Kane. Kirill Grishenko could really go out there and surprise us, but limited footage on him. From what I saw, he fought Gennady Matvienko. That's the fight that I did watch, but that man is now 0-3, and he beat that man in his debut. And he beat him easily, dominantly, and then that same guy went on to lose 3 fights quickly. So we don't really know exactly how high level Kirill Grishenko is, but we do know Oumar Kane has beaten some decent enough fighters. I mean, Patrick Schmid was making his debut, so I wouldn't say that's a huge one, but he beat Alan Ngalani, who's an excellent striker, and he beat the 6-3 Sofiani Buchiku. I like Oumar Kane's chances here. Even with the limited amount of knowledge we know on Grishenko, I think the strength difference will be evident. I think Oumar Kane will be ruthless, and I do feel he's getting a push in one championship and somebody they want as a contender in the heavyweight division. I think Oumar Kane, aka Rugrubh, gets a TKO here, probably in the first or second round, and I do think it's another dominant performance. Pretty exciting card. There's really good fights in this co-main event. Eddie Alvarez versus Rae Younoop. If you tuned in last week, you know Rae Younoop had a very competitive fight versus Marat Gafarov. He was able to win that bout, and you know that's really thanks to one championship not scoring, stalling on the ground. Even if Ook was in positions where he was on his back or his back was against the cage, he was more active with the striking. He did hurt Gafarov a couple of times, and they score the fights as a whole, which gave him the victory. Eddie Alvarez coming off a no contest now. The disqualification was overturned between him and Yuri Lapikis, but he looked like an animal in that Lapikis fight, and he was on his way to a first round TKO. He got on top and was unloading. Alvarez still looks super athletic. He still seems to have that pep in his step, which I think could take him really far here. He's going to be at a disadvantage in height against Ray Younoop, who's about 6 feet tall. I feel like Eddie Alvarez knows the game to beat this man. Explosive wrestling, closing distance. Be careful with Ook from kickboxing range because he's very good and he can strike at a high level. But Eddie Alvarez can as well. He closes distance and unloads big punches. I think he's going to mix in clinch work and takedowns, get on top. And I do think we see Eddie Alvarez possibly work towards a TKO, maybe, but I'm more leaning a decision victory for Eddie Alvarez. But I could see a TKO, but I got to give Rae Yonoop. He showed a ton of heart, showed a ton of toughness, and he definitely comes to fight. Nasty leg kicks, and from kickboxing range, he could be a serious threat to Alvarez. And he's also very active on the bottom. I think Eddie's going to have a smart game plan for Ook here, and I'm going to ride Eddie Alvarez for the victory by a decision or a TKO, but I do think he gets it done. But don't sleep on Ray Younoop. He is coming to fight, and this is by no means a give-him fight. This is a serious matchup for Eddie Alvarez, and I think the winner of this fight, possibly, especially if it's Eddie Alvarez, might be fighting Christian Lee for that world title, and I think a lot of people would be interested to see Eddie Alvarez finally get his crack at that one championship belt. Next fight on the card, Aung La N Sang, aka the Burmese Python, takes on Reinier de Ridder, the man who beat him in his last bout. The first man in a very long time to beat Aung La N Sang. He was on a tremendous win streak, dominating, and he showed a ton of power. He beat Brandon Vera. He was a light heavyweight and a middleweight champion. You look at Reinier de Ridder, he beat Aung La N Sang in middleweight, and he won the belt there. This fight here is not at middleweight. This fight, light heavyweight championship. I know Tapology always messes it up with one. It says heavyweight. No, this is not their heavyweight title. This is their light heavyweight championship fight. The defending champion, Aung La N Sang, looks to avenge his loss to Reinier de Ridder. If he's victorious, would possibly want to then do a trilogy down at middleweight and win that belt back. But I'll be honest, Reinier de Ridder is no easy fight for Aung La N Sang. He's a very tricky stylistic matchup. He has 10 wins by submissions. 2 knockouts, 1 decision. He's a guy that finishes fights. I mean, besides one, it was finishes. Very good grappler. He's been training jiu-jitsu since I believe he was 5 years of age. He got a rear naked choke on Aung La N Sang in the first fight. Song defended the first takedown, but then the body lock trip, Reinier de Ridder put him on his back and then got that back position. Aung La N Sang is amazing on the feet. He's very aggressive. He has pretty decent takedown defense, and he is precise. He throws lots of power, and he's a guy that loves a war. But I just have this feeling, even if Aung La N Sang can land some strikes, I do think he will. I think eventually Reinier de Ridder gets this fight to the ground and he's going to put Aung La N Sang in trouble. I'm going to pick Reinier de Ridder to win this fight. I think he wins the rematch and secures the trilogy here. Submission round number 2, or rather secures the rematch and prevents the trilogy here. And I think he captures a second world title. I love Aung La N Sang. I honestly wouldn't be upset if I'm wrong here, but I do think this Reinier de Ridder guy is on the rise. He has a very good skill set, 13-0, very good on the ground. He's a tall guy at 6'4", and I think he poses a very tricky fight for Aung La N Sang anytime that they do it. I'm picking Reinier de Ridder by submission. I think we are in store for an excellent main event, and I do think this fight will be more competitive than that first bout was. I don't think it'll end in the first. I think we do get into the second round, but still the same man winning, and I think Reinier de Ridder becomes a 2-division world champion in the 1FC. Will be an epic moment. Overall, great card. And as I mentioned, no betting odds released yet. But what I will do for you guys, because I still want to give you my betting picks, as soon as they release, I will put them in the comments. So maybe come back to this video, the night before the fights, or maybe even the day of, and I'll throw them in the comments. I'll let you know what I think about the bets and what the odds are sitting at. Overall, though, fun card, some solid names. I can't wait to see Umar Kane back in action. Obviously going to be an absolute honor to watch Shinya Aoki compete once again. Eddie Alvarez and Rae Yoon Ok, I think, is fireworks. And then the main event, Aung La N Sang is one of the best in one championship ever. And Reinier de Ridder is the hot prospect, the man that beat him. I mean, he's not even the hot prospect. He's the hot champion right now, but he has a chance to also win the belt against Aung La N Sang up a weight class and become a dual champion. This is a serious moment here, and I do think Reinier de Ridder gets it done. Overall, one championship back on TNT with an excellent card. Make sure you guys tune into the event. One championship really consistently delivers an excellent product. I'm a huge fan, and I will continue to cover and watch all their events. And I do hope they're back on TNT, maybe even full time. If we could get every event on TNT or maybe even on the TNT app, let's just do it so the American fans can get better access to one championship, because they do need to see it, because it is excellent martial arts, it is high level production, and it is some of the best fighters on the planet. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on the post notifications too if you don't want to miss any prediction videos. And you can also check out my social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And I will see you all in the next video.